Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on EQUINOXE television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, the United Nations Security Council puts the deepening Anglophone crisis on the discussion table in an area or informal meeting, calling on the Cameroon government and pro-independence fighters in the northwest and southwest regions of the country to halt continuous violence. And the countries taking part or who took part in that meeting sounded disturbed by the situation in Cameroon. But Cameroon's representative indicated that his country is upright and looking towards emergence by 2035. We shall be giving you details of that meeting in this newscast, and we'll also be analyzing the meeting in the second part of this newscast. And Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph NGUTE continues his peace mission to the southwest region of the country, calling on the people of the southwest to be peace crusaders, and also calling on pro-independence fighters to drop their guns and come out of the bushes and return to the normal life training response to President Paul Biya's olive branch extended to them. Stay with us. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the news. As the crisis deepens further in the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon, the Prime Minister, on instructions from the head of state, continues with a peace mission to the southwest region of the country. After the northwest, he is in the southwest region of the country, crusading for peace and calling on the people of the southwest region to work for a return to normalcy in the two Anglophone regions of the country after close to 3 years of continuous violence, gun battles, destruction of properties, killings, and of course abductions that have left several persons or the entire nation in the sorrow as a result of the devastating and deadly consequences of the ongoing crisis. Derek Jato is on the line to BUEA.
It is May 14, 2019, and we are here at the historic Mongo Bridge, a bridge that historians and politicians say you cannot write the history of Southern Cameroon without mentioning the Mongo Bridge. We are here at the Mongo Bridge to welcome the Prime Minister and Head of Government. He is coming on a peace mission to the Southwest region, a Southwest region that has been in war for 3 years now. Well, all the authorities of the Southwest region are already here, from the Southwest Governor in the presence of Mr. Bernardo Kaliabilai, a leader of the region, that some ministers are already here waiting for the Cameroon Prime Minister and Head of Government. At the time that many say they are counting thousands of people that have been killed, hundreds of thousands more displaced, and the Prime Minister is coming this 2019 to bring what he called giving peace a chance. And here he is, Cameroon Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph NGUTE. He has just climbed down now on the Mongo sandy soil. Here he is. At this particular moment, he is now being welcomed by the number one of the region, Governor Bernardo Kaliabilai. This is the first time Chief Joseph NGUTE is coming to the region, and now he is greeting his collaborators, of course, Southwest authorities, traditional rulers. We saw them here in their number. They are here to give that befitting welcome. It's worth noting that Prime Minister, Head of Government, is from the Southwest region, and this is the first time he is coming in that rank as the Cameroon Prime Minister. Boom. At this moment, the entourage is quite a long one. It's quite a long one, but we have indications that there will be a brief ceremony here at the Mongo Bridge. Security is total. We have seen a never seen beef of security here. I saw him. He was very optimistic in his characteristic manner, smiling. His mission to the Southwest region, if you are just joining us, the mission of Cameroon Prime Minister to the Southwest region is to search for peace. For 3 years now, the region has been in chaos. thousands have died, hundreds of thousands more displaced. He is coming with what have been tamed by authorities. He is on a peace mission to the southwest region. He is right far behind, of course, shaking hands with authorities of the region. And we are going to be following him for the 4 days that he will be in the region. We will be following him and updating you minute by minute at what is being transpired from BUEA to Limbe, Limbe to Kumba, because the program says he will be in BUEA, that's today, and he will start granting urgencies at from 2 p.m. up to 8 p.m. And then tomorrow he will start with urgencies at the level of BUEA, and later he will move to Limbe for a working session. On Thursday, the Cameroon Prime Minister will first of all grant urgencies in BUEA, and again he will move to Kumba, that's in Mehmet Division, for a working session. He will come back to BUEA that Thursday, and then of course on Friday he is signing off from the region here. So it is at honor the population have come out, most of them authorities, to welcome Cameroon Prime Minister and head of government. We have already seen him here on the Mongo sandy soil. At any moment he will be taking off for BUEA. Derek Jato.
Derek Jato reporting there from the southwest region of the country, and the Prime Minister is going to be meeting political, traditional, religious, administrative and civil society leaders in the 2 Anglophone regions of the country. He started with the northwest and now he's in the southwest region of the country, and the aim is to find a lasting solution to the Anglophone crisis that has continued deepening for close to 3 years today. And of course we have seen such missions by his predecessor Philemon Yang and other government authorities who have been undertaking such peace missions, but the crisis has continued deepening, and so a lot is being expected from this other mission of the Prime Minister to the crisis-hit southwest region of the country. And the United Nations Security Council puts the matter on the discussion table in an area or informal meeting, and the area or informal meeting of the United Nations Security Council on the current crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country ended yesterday in the New York, United States of America, with a demand for government and separatist fighters to halt continuous violence in the northwest and southwest regions of the country and violations and abuse of human rights. Most of the United Nations Security Council representatives from the United States, UK, France and other countries sounded disturbed by the worsening situation, though Cameroonian authorities have maintained that the situation is under control, and the representatives of the different European countries and of course America wants the crisis to be discussed at the ordinary session of the United Nations Security Council, and before members of representatives of local non-governmental organizations present presented the crisis situation as a disturbing one. Now take a listen to some of them.
Of time and sparing this noble house the embarrassment of the saddening situation we live in the Anglophone regions, I have left out the details of the recorded murders perpetrated either by the armed separatist groups, otherwise known as the Amber Boys, or the Cameroonian military, which acts as an instrument of terror to the local people. Corpses continue to be discovered here and there. It is hard to know the number of security forces or pro-independent fighters that might have been killed. What is certain is the fact that is on an increase. Madam President, many buildings, including living homes, business centers, hospitals, private and public property have been burned down in various localities in the English-speaking regions within the last 24 months. The belligerent parties have not claimed or accepted responsibility for these burnings. Yet, the figures are quite alarming. It is as indicated in these few statistics. In BUEA division alone, more than 1,500 houses have been razed down by flames.
150,000 families of internally displaced persons have been duly identified, and 75,000 have already received assistance. Thus, necessities about these 75,000 families, as mentioned above, have benefited from mattresses, blankets, foodstuff, and toiletries. We need more assistance and support in order to identify and block the sources of financing for terrorism, secessionism, subversion, and insurgency. On the other hand, additional resources to spray up the eradication of poverty and the creation of well-being for all. The government of Cameroon is fully aware of the cause of this situation and reiterate the commitment and measures taken by President Paul Biya, as well as those recently adopted by Parliament to strengthen dialogue, accelerate the process of decentralization, and empower region in a country where peace, stability, unity, territorial integrity in a confessional, linguistic, ethnic, cultural diversity and living together are constantly nurtured and strengthened. Cameroon leads a methodical fight against terrorism, secessionism, subversion, insurgency in strict compliance with the text, instrument, commitment, and law governing human rights.
In the meantime, Cameroonian authorities continue maintaining that the situation is under control and not as worse as non-governmental organizations and international institutions are presenting the situation. And in a declaration during the area or informal meeting of the United Nations Security Council in New York, the permanent representative of Cameroon at the United Nations Organization, Tomo Tomte, said Cameroon is upright and as stubborn as the truth and looking for that emergence by 2035, and the country is neither in paradise nor in hell. These are the words of the permanent representative of Cameroon to the United Nations Organization, Tomo Tomte. And we're going to continue talking about the situation in the two Anglophone regions of the country that has continued deepening since it escalated from a peaceful protest by teachers and lawyers to an armed conflict, leaving hundreds of thousands of persons displaced in the two Anglophone regions of the country, thousands of persons dead, as well as entire villages burnt down, and the gun battles, destruction of properties, killings, and abductions have continued in the two Anglophone regions of the country for close to 3 years now. And we're going to talk about the helicopter crash, the crash of a military helicopter in Oku. It is, of course, a locality in the northwest region of the country. Investigations are still on course to determine the exact cause of that incident that led to the death of several persons. And of course, some of the victims of that accident include 3 divisional officers, the pilot, and 2 soldiers. Some of the survivors, were 7 of them in number, have been transported and admitted at the military hospital in the country's economic capital, Douala, and they are receiving treatment. The governor of the Littoral region, Samuel Jedune Vahadiboa, visited them today to take stock of the health situation and, of course, the evolution of the treatment at that health amenity here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. And this is what he told the press shortly after visiting the victims of the helicopter crash.
Helicopter around the area of Oku, the northwest. The head of state and the minister in charge of defense sent me to give support to the people that were within this helicopter. We've got one commissioner who is dead, but the other people are wounded. So we came to give them the support of the hierarchy and to tell them that the head of state is following the situations. The measures have been taken so that all what they have to do in the hospital, the government is taking it into account, and to make them be sure that the head of state is following all the situations. Also to congratulate these civil servants, even the military, that to keep on giving confidence to the head of state and the government of the republic, whatever they have to face some difficulties in this area that is not very easy, but we have to give them support, and every day we have to be sure that everything is going well while they are here in the hospital.
The people of Tombel have told the senior divisional officer of the Kupe Moningoba division that they want the crisis to come to an end. They said they have been suffering a lot and they have had more than enough of the devastating and deadly consequences of the Anglophone crisis, and they were speaking during a tour of the senior divisional officer who went canvassing for a return to normalcy. Smanzik and Gabriel has more.
Abandoned school in Tombel subdivision. It is the same situation in most schools of the Kupe Maningoba division of the Southwest region, where most schools have been invaded by grass. The decision is not only for schools, but also many palaces have been left by their chiefs. The chiefs have also decided to hide their heads as a result of continuation of the Anglophone crisis.
It is not helping us. We are suffering because all of us are suffering. And the atmosphere that reigns now is a very good atmosphere for any form of dialogue which can take place. We are pleading that real dialogue should be carried out at any level, at all the levels.
However, the soil in Kupe Maningoba is very fertile with fresh raw materials available. This truck filled with plantains has no buyers as a result of the limited influx of those purchasing plantains. It is for this reason that the senior divisional officer of Kupe Maningoba, who is on a sensitization tour, has preached the message of peace to his citizens, urging them to tell those in the bushes to come back home. It was an opportunity for the mayor of Tombel to give a situation of his locality.
The inhabitants have passed through well. Many have suffered untold damages, other financial and material losses, while children have not been able to go to schools. As we continue to appeal to government to continue its effort to provide solutions to the ongoing social, political unrest.
Most of the inhabitants say there is no time for talking, as they want the real thing to be done, which is dialogue.
We talk about sensitization. Who sensitized the population to come back to peace when at present we have even chiefs who have decided to flee from their various homes, living outside, to come on occasional duty?
The clergymen who were also present during this sensitization tour of the senior divisional officer were asking questions why the government had decided not to heed to the Tumi-led commission.
So if the dialogue doesn't come from up there, I still beats my imagination why the government still keep refusing the commission of Cardinal Tumi and my moderator. Refuse the commission formed by the clergy to pave the way for this dialogue. I don't know why.
The senior divisional officer was, however, contented with his tour, which was to call for peace.
The level of peace we have attained, I have to evaluate the sensitization we have carried out for sustainable peace in our division, all our division. And I have observed that peace is progressing and things are moving well for a sustainable peace in our division.
The people of Kupe Maninguba, just like their counterparts nationwide, are now asking the government to leave their speeches and get into real action, which is dialogue.
That's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point comes up next. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in Talking Points. We are receiving a senior legal mind, member of the Cameroon Bar Association and lead defense counsel of Sisiku Ayuk Tabe, and the other detainees of the Anglophone crisis, Barrister Fruit. And so, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.
And we are receiving you at the time the situation in the two Anglophone regions of the country has continued deepening, while our authorities of the country maintain that the situation is under control. And in the declaration of the representative of Cameroon, or the permanent representative of Cameroon in the United Nations Organization, he said Cameroon is upright, Cameroon is as stubborn as the truth, and Cameroon is looking forward to its emergence by 2035.
Well, that is what they have been singing for the last 57 years, and more especially the last 3 years. They have been telling the world that the situation is under control. They forget that the world is now a global village. Everybody has the imageries of what is happening in Cameroon. All those 15 United Nations Security Council members, they have all information on Cameroon. So when an old diplomat sits there with all the experience he has and lies openly, well, judicial notice is being taken. They don't know what is going to happen next, but the Security Council has met. They will act when the time comes. If Mr. Barr is not willing to do what they say.
What are the stakes of such a meeting, though referred to as informal or area?
Listen, diplomats have a way of framing things. The meeting was informal, as they say, because they didn't want anybody to veto. There were some slide votes where, for Cameroon, there were 4 people, four countries. For against Cameroon, there were 10, and then China was neutral. But during the debates after that, you heard China's position. Well, I can say Cameroon had 5, and the rest of the people against Cameroon had 10, and far-reaching resolutions have been taken. The fact that it was clearly said that the Southern Cameroon have a right to self-determination. I'm not going to enter into the other nitty-gritties of the resolutions. Let's wait. The days, weeks, and months ahead will tell if Cameroon continues to lie to the world. Imagine that the Minister of Foreign Affairs issued a communique, an official communique, saying that there will be no meeting, that meeting is not a Security Council meeting.
It's fake news.
And it turned out that it was a Security Council meeting, and the Cameroon ambassador to the United Nations was there to represent Cameroon. What the hell is going on in this country with lies? You lie even on official documents.
Now, Southern Cameroonians have a right to
self-determination. Yes.
What is it, self-determination?
Self-determination is that we have a right to determine what to do with ourselves. We want to govern ourselves. We want to be in control of ourselves. We have a right. Like we are recognized as a people. We came into this. It was clearly stated. We came into this union as 2 different countries, 2 different entities. When the negotiations, what they call dialogue, I call it negotiations. When they will finish, if there's a deadlock, everybody goes his way, and we'll have our country We restored our independence that we had in 1961, and they had theirs in 1960. So what is all this running around and making noise, panicking all over the place? If they knew that that security United Nations Security Council meeting was not the real Security Council meeting, why at the same time send the Prime Minister to go around mounting people to take to Bamenda, mounting people to take to the Southwest, and telling people how they want to, now the head of state wants to negotiate and putting conditions. The United Nations Security Council is saying negotiations or dialogue without precondition. Now they have put their own precondition. We'll talk about everything except separation.
No, we'll come back to the Prime Minister's visit to the two Anglophone regions in a short while. But first, when the Security Council members meet and they are expressing worries, what can we foresee in the nearest future? Intervention of those countries?
Did you listen to the Russian ambassador? According to the Russians, intervention is the only thing that can solve the problem, which that it is serious enough for an immediate intervention. But the Security Council works in a very subtle and not very fast manner. They give the country concerned a little bit of time to see how they act. Let me tell you, this country is full of lies. They deceive themselves. They just sit around, deceive themselves. They deceive the public. If tomorrow you hear that the United Nations peacekeeping force or intervention forces in the Northwest and Southwest, would you blame anybody? Because they are not taking it seriously. They only know how to pretend.
How are they not taking it seriously? The Prime Minister is in the Northwest. His
what is he doing there?
Was there.
What is he doing there?
Some measures had been
telling
taken
lies
by
all over the place that Amber
so
boys have given their arms. You cannot be fighting a war with two people and you want to you want the others to drop their arms while you hold your own. What is he talking about? All those Atanga boys that were mounted in Bamenda to be reading all kinds of speeches.
Are you saying that? Are you saying that all the actions that government has been taking so far to solve this problem?
No action that the government has taken that gets to the core of this matter. No action. What has the government done? Those fake commissions. What is the bilingualism commission got to do with the war? Disarmament the commission only comes after a war, not before a war, not during a war.
Now, looking at the present context,
what have they done?
Looking at the present context and the management of the crisis by the Cameroon government, what are the instruments that could be used by the United Nations Security Council to intervene, and when could that
Listen,
happen?
the humanitarian situation is getting worse and worse. The killings, the targeted killings by the army, we have lost. The Northwest and Southwest has lost, or what I will call the Southern Cameroons. There's nothing in my mind called the Northwest and Southwest. The Southern Cameroon, we have lost more than 10,000 people. And we continue to lose people. We have lost more than 215 villages. The United Nations Security Council will intervene. Let Cameroon hold that in his head, that they will intervene at some point. Because Cameroon is not doing anything to help. Cameroon is not doing anything to solve the crisis. They said dialogue without preconditions. They are putting preconditions. Running over around, go to Bamenda, talk about how we are willing to, okay, the head of state now has decided to negotiate everything except separation. It has now graduated from secessionist to separation.
Is that not a positive move?
No, monsieur. No, sir. No. Everything is on the table. We will be going to that negotiating table without precondition, but we have an agenda.
Everything should be put on the table.
Everything on the table.
But the Prime Minister, for example, says no.
Well, then there's no negotiation. Then there's nothing. That's when the Security Council will come in.
No fund will accept to divide his kingdom.
Okay, then somebody will come in and divide that kingdom. That's the role of the United Nations Security Council. If that's what they are saying. They should have followed those debates and listened to the communiques that have come out. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and start analyzing what is going to happen. But I know something will happen if this government continues to talk about precondition. We'll talk about everything except separation. Who are they deceiving?
And the Norwegian Security Council described the Anglophone crisis as one of the world's most neglected
crisis in the world, because the United Nations has gone quiet. The Cameroon government has been doing everything to bribe everybody in the United Nations to look the other way, but the United States cannot look the other way. Britain, I'm happy that Britain has joined the United States, along with Germany, along with the Dominican Republic, along with South Africa, along with others, to tell this government that if you are not ready for negotiations, we will come in. And first of all, they will stop the humanitarian crisis and stop the war. And I am advising Mr. Barr, call for ceasefire, immediate ceasefire, by the unilateral, because you started the war. If the government withdraws its troops, our boys will put down their arms. And then release all, including our leader who is sitting there in Kodenge, release all Anglophones who have been arrested because of this matter. And number 3, pass an amnesty for those who are living abroad, who cannot come back to their country because of you threatening to arrest them. Pass an amnesty so that those who were going to negotiate on the side of Southern Cameroon and Bazonia will come into the country, go to ground zero, consult our people, and then we'll start the negotiation. Not in this country. The negotiation will not take place in Cameroon, and the mediator is not going to be from Cameroon. That's why I sent a message to Mr. Frundi. You are not an honest broker.
Why should you take a problem that is in Cameroon to go and to find solutions?
Because Cameroon has shown that they cannot solve this problem. No, every Cameroonian is polarized. All
right, thank you, Barrister Fruit Johnson, Senior Legal Mind, member of the Cameroon Bar Association. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.